This episode has been sponsored by Huxley's Birds of Prey. We want to thank them from the bottom of our hearts for supporting our podcast and raising important visibility for our community. Before we introduce our guest, I would like to give a very warm welcome to Kemi, today's co-host. Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Welcome back. It's now time to introduce our special guest. It is a true honour to welcome a living legend to our podcast, a woman whose profound life story is nothing short of inspirational. Her journey spanning decades is a testament to her remarkable resilience. Growing up in a time of misunderstanding and hate, the 60s saw her live through extraordinary and harrowing challenges, and too often unspoken experiences. From her time in the army and the lifetime of LGBT outreach service, our guest lives to tell the tale as loudly and proudly as possible in hopes that those dark times never return. The name we are about to introduce has historically impacted our entire community. Many know her for the Betty's Bus and for her name in Houses of Parliament. Her dedication and influence has been widely recognised with accolades from UK officials, London Pride and Transport Union. Please join me with the utmost enthusiasm and heartfelt welcome in introducing the truly inspirational Betty.
Thank you.
Betty, thank you so much for being here today. I did mean that intro. It really is an honour for you to be here in front of all these cameras. It's quite daunting, isn't it? Before we start, can I just ask you one quick question? And it's around the term queer. Where do you stand with that term?
I am not queer. I am a lesbian.
Oh, okay. That's strong. That's a strong reaction.
Very.
Why? Can I ask why?
Because we are different, that makes us different. Not a very nice word to be called.
Okay.
Lesbian, yes, that's fine. Or gay woman. I don't mind.
And do you think that's because of maybe your past? And I only say that because some generations, generation under me, I feel like they're kind of reinventing it. Do you?
No, I think it's a younger generation come in and they call themselves queer and think it's good to call them. That's fine, but don't call me queer.
Okay,
I'm not.
fine. Yeah. Everyone's out to their own.
And that's the important thing.
Yeah.
I'm a lesbian.
You identify as a lesbian.
That's correct.
Absolutely. Okay. That's a strong answer there. I like it. Kemi, where do you stand with that word?
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, the word is different for younger people, and we use it differently to how it was said to you.
That's right.
And what it meant for you as well. For us, it's a more positive outlook, I suppose. But for you, I imagine it would be negative.
It's negative to me, yes, you're right. But to young people, it's, that's great. They call themselves queer, and that's fine.
But not you. That's great. That's
But
great
don't
too.
call me it.
So can we segue then nicely from that to talking about your coming out story, as much or as little and as far back as you would like?
Right, 1962. Can you count that many years back? I was 17 and wanted to join the army. I thought, this would be good if I joined the army. So I joined the army and went to Lingfield in Surrey. When I got there, it was like heaven. There was all these girls. And a lot of them were gay. Wow! It was really good. However, we were watched all the time by the corporal, the sergeant, walking round, and I was quite happy with that. And we had to get up in the morning, something we never had to do. Get up in the morning, clean the toilets, do this, do that. You had to do all the cleaning, and make your bed. It was different. And that's all I can say. It was different. It was good because I felt as if I belonged. And this is the sad part. I loved the army. And I was outed by a girl in the billet. And this is what they do. They come round, they say, if you know somebody that's different, tell us and we'll sort it. And this is what they do in the army. And all that did was cover their backs because they were gay. And so it made, oh, look, see what we've done. You know, we've got rid of another one. And it was just before the passing out parade, 6 weeks. It was a 6 week. And they kept saying to me, you're lesbian. I said, what? Of course not. Anyway, I got no choice in the matter. And at 17, you're young. So they took me before the commandant, and she was a sour-faced old prune. Anyway, we went in front of her, and so, you're a lesbian. I said, no, ma'am. Well, we know you are. And I thought, okay. Didn't know anything about it, was dismissed. Went home, said to my sister, it was blood grouping because I'd had a problem with that, so I said blood grouping. However, my father, I lived with my sister because my mum had died when I was 12. And my father came down to my sister and he said, what's this? Oh, it's a letter. Dear Mr. Gallacher, we have dispensed with your daughter's services from Her Majesty's forces owing to the fact she has lesbian tendencies. So my sister had read this. She'd been to the doctor to find out what a lesbian was.
Oh.
Don't forget, this is Scotland, you know, that was sort of backward about that thing. It wasn't London where people would know. And she'd been to the doctor, so I was taken round to the doctor. Then they suggested I see a psychiatrist. And that was awful because his name was Dr. Fish. What a name. So anyway, I saw Dr. Fish and went into the room and he had students with him. And he's got his feet on the desk like this, you know. Oh, hello, Elizabeth. What do you do with women? You're going to tell me? And I said, you tell me, what do you do? So my sister was sitting there and he said, now, come on, I asked you first. I said, I'm asking you. So we had all this rigmarole in and out. And I got fed up and I looked at my sister. I said, I'm going. Are you coming? And I got out and I walked out. It was Gogarburn Hospital in Edinburgh. So that was it. Nothing more was said. And then I thought, I know, I'm going to join the NAFI. It's close to the army. I'll join the NAFI. So I joined the NAFI. And the only space they had was Benbecula, the Outer Hebrides. So they sent me my plane ticket and what have you. And I went there up to the Outer Hebrides. And the manager there didn't say too much at first. But he liked to drink in the evening. He liked brandy. So he said, I protect you, dear. And I said, oh. I was a bit wary at 17. I thought, oh, what's this all about? And then I said to him a couple of nights later, can you tell me what you protect me from? He said, they told me to sack you. I said, sack me? Yes, the army want me to sack you, but I won't sack you because you're a good worker. And so I knew I was then protected. So I stayed up in Benbecula for 3 years till Mr. Haywood retired. Then I came to London, and that was it. I thought, I can't go home again, my God. What am I going to say? 3 years.
Did you come out to your dad? Did you ever own that?
Not at that time.
No.
When I was 21.
In London?
Yeah.
Okay.
And anyway, that's when they found out I was gay. I was different, you know.
We had a chat before this and you said that there's something quite profound for me, actually. You said that Mr. Haywood saved your life.
Oh, he did. because my life could have been ruined if I hadn't had him protect me for those 3 years. That sort of lesbian part died, so it wasn't part of my
You
life.
mean in reputation?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So he was a very, very good man. And it's made me the person I am today, and that's why I'm who I am, is because when I came back from there, I thought, I'm not going to go back in a closet for anybody.
Good for you.
And I went and I joined the transport as a conductor. And when I went there, and there was, I said, I'm gay, by the way. And they looked at me. And from then, I just carried my life on from then. And then I thought, well, nothing's happening here. And so I fought and became the actual union rep for the garage, representing people. And then I wasn't happy with that, so I thought I'll become the convener. And I was the first and only woman convener, and nobody's followed me.
Wow.
So that was it. I had my place. I could then protect people who were gay. And that's what I did. And I would go around the different garages representing people. And that was life then.
When you then did come out to your dad openly, how did that go? Because they said that they took you to the doctor, psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Did you go to the psychiatrist, and was that...
He just said, oh, my darling. That was it.
Well, the psychiatrist did, or your dad?
Oh, that was all forgotten.
Oh, okay, fine.
Because I walked out on it.
Okay.
I wouldn't listen to him, what he was saying. Because I was, in those days, 1962, you were a spectacle, really. He had his feet on the desk, casual-like. And we were funny because there were 6 students sat behind him. And they were all waiting for my answers. And I thought, you're not going to get any. And that was it. And that's what made me the woman I am.
You're a very strong woman.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It made me the person I am today.
A strong lesbian. Can we talk a little bit about the AIDS crisis and your involvement in that?
Right. Well, in the 80s, HIV became the gay plague.
Yep.
And I wasn't quite happy about that. I thought, that's not on. But I had one guy in my garage, Steve Kulikowski, bless him. He was HIV, screaming queen. And I said, okay, we'll keep an eye. And I went over there to chat with him and what have you. And then he would sort of get a bad dream and he'd ring the police and tell them who I was, and the police would ring me. And I said, it's okay, I'll deal with him, I'll drive over there. So I used to drive over to Streatham and speak to him. And then I thought, I'm going to take him into the garage. He needs company, and he needs guys' company. So I picked him up and I said, I'm going to take you into the garage for a treat. Oh, he says, that'd be nice. So anyway, when I got into the garage, a lot of them went, oh, I'm not drinking out the same cup as him. And I said, don't be so ridiculous. I said, he needs friends.
Yeah.
And so I want you all to be nice to him. And as it happened, it worked out the most wonderful thing. They all sat with him, had tea with him, and it was great. And I dealt with him till he died. Used to take him out various places, brought him into the garage, took him in to see the manager, and all sorts of things. I said, he needs support, and that's why I'm here. And then there was another guy who was Dave. He got it, but he was HIV, but he got it quicker. So his life went quicker.
Yeah.
And that was quite sad because we were all there at his funeral, you know. And it was a birthday song. After the funeral was finished, they said, Dave left this for you all. And it was a birthday song, and we all started laughing. But Dave died, and then eventually Stephen died. But it helped us because anyone who was HIV, at that time, there was no cure. It was awful.
Mm.
So I went to the management and I said, look, any of these people, we're going to medically discharge. I said, I want them to get their pensions. So we had this agreement that if somebody who was HIV and we were dispensing with their services, they would get their pension. And that helped a lot of things. And we raised money for them, you know, all sorts. We had a boat trip.
But that change wouldn't have happened without you instigating that.
Possibly not in transport because, again, that was quite a hostile, you know, from the other reps. And then I'd have people come to me and say, well, the rep's not helped me in that. And I said, listen, he can't choose who he represents. He's there to represent everybody. And I would go visit the garage and meet the rep and tear the ass off him.
Yeah.
Because you've got to look after the people
Yeah.
who have worked and now they're dying.
Yeah.
You know, so we went through quite a rough time
Yeah.
during the AIDS.
How did it impact you? Helping those people?
It made you stronger because you knew you had to help them. That was it. And compassion is something I have a lot of, you know, for people who need help. And that's exactly what we did,
Yeah.
was look after the people. And we didn't have any arguments, you know, with the company. They were quite happy to give them medical retirement.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's really good.
and that was very good.
What pushback did you get for helping? Like, was there any pushback from your family, from your friends?
No,
No?
no. I said, you have to take care of your own.
Okay.
And that's it. So we did, and it's life. It's how it goes on. But there was no hatred, nothing at all, you know.
Okay.
You'd have the odd one standing back, but mostly everybody was friendly.
Yeah. At first, they were a bit wary. Is that
Oh,
fair to
God,
say?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very wary. Because it's a deadly disease when you think of it. And there was a lot of straight men gave it to their wives.
Sure.
And that was sad.
Yeah.
But we got through it.
Can you explain, maybe not as graphically, but how the straight men received or got the HIV/AIDS?
Well, they were cheating on their wives, aren't they? They liked the boys.
Yeah.
So they were having sex with boys, unprotected sex.
And then going home to their wives.
Going home to their wives.
Do you think that's because they weren't out or they weren't able to come out of the closet?
Well, they weren't able to come out, you know.
Yeah.
Or they were afraid to come out to their wives and that, but they should have had the sense to wear protection.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
But apart from that, everything went hunky-dory. It just went straight on, you know. There was always another fight, another day.
Yeah.
You know, you never finished fighting one thing because there was always something else, you know.
In your role, would you make any choices differently, you know, looking back now?
No.
No?
I had members I had to help, and that was it. You know, nothing ever put me off. I always cared for the people
Yeah.
who needed that help, and that's it.
So that's your life helping the AIDS crisis.
That's
but
right.
what was it like? What was it like growing up as a lesbian in that time?
It wasn't good. You were sort of hiding all the time. But in those years, when we were that young, we helped. We looked after each other. We covered their back. And that was the important thing.
Okay.
As friends, didn't matter if you're a friend of them or not. If it was something to help someone who was gay, you helped them. And that's what it's all about.
But it sounds like you helping people, your compassion that you were talking about, is almost like a superpower of yours.
Well,
and maybe,
it is.
Yeah. And
It is really.
That helped you, that helped them, the people that you were helping, but maybe also helped you
Yeah.
to come to terms with yourself as well. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, well, that's it. You know, when you got a fight to do, you go and you fight it.
Yeah.
You worry about the rest later. You know,
Was it underground? Was there a lot of, like, because it was, I can imagine it being quite seedy, looked upon quite seedy. It wasn't the norm, as people would say. Was the gay scene underground?
no, we used to go to clubs, but you always were careful which club you went to, you know. And there was
Out
various
of fear
clubs.
of what? You were careful?
Well, the police and all this sort of thing, or people saying, oh, queers, bloody, you know. You always got that. But we used to stay away from it. And that was the way you lived your life.
Was there a lot of police hate at the time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was.
That's sad. That's sad.
Yeah.
Did you experience any of that hate yourself?
Oh, yeah, at
Oh, really?
times you did, yes. Like there was a conductor who was, and I said, you've got a big mouth. So he said, really? I said, yeah. My life has nothing to do with you.
Yes.
And then he shut up.
Good.
He never spoke to me after that.
Yeah. He was probably terrified.
He did himself a favour.
Yeah.
Because if you let this get into your head, then it worries you. And you think, oh, is that what they really think of us? You know, but I used to poo-poo it
Good for you.
and ignore it.
So beside me are some awards, accolades, medals.
Yes, that's
I'm going to be very careful with these. What are they for?
that's the Attitude Award. It's run by an airline, and they do a lot. When they heard I was doing Pride for
Yeah.
the first woman doing a Pride, so telling them what I did, how I found out, and how I was going to do it. And that's when Judge Rinder was very nice and said, contact me, which we did, and he gave us £1,000 to start the
Wow.
first Pride. It was really nice.
From Judge Rinder. That's
yeah,
amazing.
Judge Rinder, yeah.
That's
He was
brilliant.
lovely. And there was a lot of TV stars there and what have you.
Wow. Where was it? Where did you go for that?
It was up at the Dorchester Hotel.
Oh, fancy.
Oh, yes, it was.
Yeah.
And we had lunch there. So it was really nice.
Yeah. And what about these other two that we can see here?
And the other one is my service to the union. That's the gold medal. That's the little gold one here. That's the last one of the Transport and General Workers Union.
Wow.
Because then we had amalgamated with Amicus
Okay.
and we called it Unite. That's what the union's called today.
Unite.
Unite, but I got the last T&G.
That's
medal.
fantastic. Thank you for bringing them in. They're amazing.
Yeah,
I like the purple one, the Unite one. It's got a rainbow on it.
that's the new one.
Yeah, I love that. I do have a couple of questions actually, and I'm going to open this up to both of you if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So the first one, well, I think this one's probably aimed at you actually. Are you ready? Do you feel a sense of responsibility to advocate for our community and why? But it's a two-part question. Second part, is it exhausting? Do you sometimes go home and go,
I fall asleep. Mandy will tell you, I fall asleep. No, the thing is, I do feel a responsibility to the younger people. And I always try to reach the younger people and tell them, don't get mixed up with that. They're not so nice. Stick with us, or I'll put them to the youth group, because I don't want anything happening to a younger person because they're fascinated by being gay. And I don't like that. And I wouldn't want it on my conscience. So we always look after the youngsters.
Amazing.
And yes, it's got a big responsibility.
I mean, I have not done scratch the surface of the work that you've done, but I feel a huge sense of responsibility. And sometimes I'm owning it. Sometimes I go home and go, that was a day. That was a tough day. We have drop-ins in here throughout the week. Conversations that we have are really hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Does that play on your mind? Do you have those moments of, I don't think I can do this anymore because it's too hard?
Oh, no, I've never ever felt that.
Amazing.
I feel I'm getting too old for it now. 81.
81. Do you think you will just carry on advocating until you can?
I will.
Amazing. Right, I'm going to ask you another question for both of you then. So, as a nation, where do you think the UK is failing our LGBT community?
Whoa.
That's a big one. Do you want to go, Kimmy?
All the time. Seriously.
Yeah.
We had to fight to get the LGBT through the TUC. I used to attend there every month. And they used to have every union meet there. And the fights we had, it was LG when I started, lesbian and gay. And then they added the B, bisexual, and then they added the T, transgender.
Yeah.
And then they've got a whole alphabet behind it. And nobody can deal with all that alphabet.
What do you think about the alphabet acronym now that
I think
we've got?
it's rubbish.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
You're either a lesbian or you're gay.
Okay.
You're bisexual or transgender. That's it. How many more letters do you need to be somebody?
It's a controversial subject, I will say that.
Oh, you're getting it from me, and I'll tell you, I hate it. It's so unnecessary. They come into our cafe, we got a little cafe, they come in, oh, I'm non-binary, I'm this and I'm that, and I think, Jesus Christ, what is it this time? And Mandy gets her diary out and she goes, oh, it's just... There's no need for all those.
But do you think there's an element of it where people are just wanting to identify in ways that maybe you're not referenced to?
Well, they are, obviously, but that's why we've got an alphabet. It's not something that's needed. You're a person, you get recognised for who you are. That's it.
Do you think you need labels at all then?
No.
No?
No, do away with the labels.
Do all of them?
No, we're gay and that's it.
Fair, right.
We are gay.
I love how black and white this is for you. This is brilliant.
Well, you're now meeting somebody who speaks the honest truth. And that's it.
I love that.
I've always been honest. I don't hide what I am.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody should. Just be honest, be gay, have a good time, enjoy your life, but don't
have a good time.
Come with this rubbish.
What a mantra. Just have a good time. That's great.
Have a ball.
Have a ball. Right, last question then before I open it up to the audience. So prep yourself. Okay, this one is for you. The day you was discharged, is there something that you would now tell yourself? So if you were in that room that you were discharged, you got that letter, if you were able to take yourself away for a second, is there any piece of advice you would give yourself?
Wipe your nose and get on with it, because it's done, it's happened. That's how much hate there was against LG people in those days. They hated us. Yeah. Why? I don't know. Probably scared of us. Why is there a need to be scared of somebody who's lesbian and gay.
Because they didn't know, I guess. There was
They didn't
no...
understand, but believe me, there was a lot of high officers were on our level, but never did anything to help those less fortunate than
Why don't you
themselves.
think they helped?
Scared
Of?
what could happen to them. If they sympathised with us, then they would look at them and target them.
And they would lose their job.
That's right. But they didn't mind us younger people losing our job. They didn't think of that at all.
Yeah.
It was all, you're expendable.
But as you said earlier, that's made you the person you are.
Oh, yes, it has.
Made you a strong person.
It made me stronger and not afraid.
Do you hold any resentment over the way you were forced to come out, in a way?
Probably at the beginning, but as time went on, no.
No.
What's the point? Not going to win anything. So you just give it up,
Yeah.
and get on with your life.
Okay.
Make it count. And that's what I think I've done
You have absolutely done.
over the years.
Absolutely.
Made my life count.
Is that one of your messages you would say to our audience today?
Absolutely. Be true to yourself. And if it doesn't ring true with you, think about it. Think very hard, or speak to someone who's got a bit more experience and they can guide you. That's the important thing,
Would you say the same for the younger generation?
Yes,
That's the same piece of advice?
absolutely. I would say you're young, you've got a lot to learn. Because I learned a lot, but in a short time.
Are you nervous for the younger generation, or even for the generation that aren't born yet? Are you nervous for them and the way the world's going?
Well, there could be problems.
Why?
But who knows? And by the way, I was mentioned in the House of Commons, in case you don't ask that one.
We will. We're getting there.
Oh, you're getting there.
We're getting there. But should we talk about it now? You put it out there.
you
Let's
can.
talk about it. So let's...
Josh Babarindi, he's gay. He's
Okay.
our MP.
Okay.
And the Speaker of the House, because they're starting to do things for people dismissed from the army to get compensation. And Josh said, Madam Speaker, will you thank Betty Gallacher for all the work she'd done and started doing Pride and all the things that she had done with her partner? You're going to thank her? And she said, yes, I do thank Betty.
How incredible.
I thought,
Oh.
yeah. So that was that.
You sent me the clip. I watched the clip. That
Yeah,
was
you know,
amazing.
you did.
Do you watch it every day?
No.
I think I would watch it every day.
No, I've seen it and that's it. It's just another.
So they thank you for the work that you've done with Pride. Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to talk about what you've done?
Yeah, I think we have done a lot, Mandy and I. And Stephen, our other trustee, there was 3 of us,
Yeah.
organised Pride.
What Pride was that? What town?
Eastbourne. Believe me, I had to fight the whole way to get Pride. I met with them and I said, look, I'm a trade unionist. There's a lot of children in this town need help. And I'd like to have a Pride to fetch them in, get the community together, help their parents to understand them and what have you, and for Pride. Can't have Pride.
Who was this? The council?
Yes. So I said, why can't we have Pride? We can't have that. So I said, okay, I'll call it Mardi Gras. What date would you like? I said, so you are homophobic.
Oh.
So they said, not homophobic. I said, well, what are you then? You tell me I can't have Pride, but I can have Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
That's a celebration. of of everything. So anyway, because it was Mardi Gras, I could have it. So, and then we could only have the small park. So David Tuck came and I had to go to him. He's the man, he was the boss.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I said, do you know what? You're homophobic. The whole bloody lot of you are homophobic. I said, we're trying to do something for this town, for the youth. Why can't we do it? And then he stood up and he got on the stage at Pride and he said, how many people are here for Pride? But half of them put their hand up. How many of you have travelled here and are staying in hotels? Again, the hands went up. He said, well, I want to thank you for what we've done. And when when he came off the stage, I said, oh, he said, you can call it Pride. I said, oh, how nice. We can call it Pride. That's what it is.
So they took all of that
Yeah.
for them to be able to call it Pride.
Yeah. So it then got called as Pride. The next year we said we want it at the big park. So that cost us £780 to hire it. And from then on, it just became Pride.
Amazing.
So,
How many people do you think you've impacted over the time that you've worked for that Pride?
I would say quite a few thousand.
Wow.
We had people travel from Blackpool, from London, from all over to join us. It was really good.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You've done such incredible work, honestly. It's inspiring.
Yeah. There's my little champion sitting there in the audience. If it weren't for her, I'd be gone.
Okay.
With
while,
the illness I've had.
while we've segued to the audience, shall we take some audience questions?
Would you say that there should be more education within the family unit?
Absolutely.
Because, as you mentioned, parents need to understand their children. How
Yeah.
do you think that should be taken up?
Well, it should start in school.
Yeah.
And it should start with mum and dad
Yeah.
asking, and parents to be more aware of their children and think, are they gay? Are they, and that's it. Ask them. And be a parent that your child can talk to you about anything. And that's the most important thing. And I always tell people, if you love them, let them know.
Yeah.
And you can talk to me about anything that upsets you in your life. And we have quite a few youngsters come in, and parents now, come into a drop-in because they learn more there, And we send the children over to the archery centre. And that's for school kids, that's a friend of ours, Lizzie. And that's for children 14 to 25. And every Tuesday she's there. And it gets bigger and bigger. And she's very, very good with all of them.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing, is to make yourself available for that child to ask you.
Yeah.
Love
I
should
agree.
be unconditional, shouldn't it? No matter what.
Unconditional love, yeah, it is.
No matter if you're a friend, family,
Yep, for everybody. It should be unconditional.
no matter the difference.
Yep, no matter.
Hi. Firstly, thank you for sharing your story. I personally have found it very inspiring. You mentioned, obviously, when you were 17, you joined the army, and that's kind of where other people noticed you were a lesbian. When did you know yourself?
About 14. I knew there was something different, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And when I went into the army, I'd come home. It was lovely.
Did you ever find there was sort of no one for you? Like, obviously, you were about 14, you knew something was different, you didn't quite know what.
No, you didn't know.
That must have been very isolating for you.
No, made me curious and all what went around. And then you come to feelings and you think, oh, that must be what it is.
Thank you.
So my family I've come from quite a heavy military family. My mother was a Wren. My dad was in the TA. My sister's currently serving as a naval officer. And the story I get now is it's much better. It's much more accepted. And I just wonder if, obviously, it's taken a long time to get to that point. And I wonder, do you ever think it would have been worth paying the cost to remain in the army by remaining entirely closeted rather than having to be risked being discovered?
It's very difficult because some parents accept easily their child's different. Other parents can't get their head round it. They think, what's she talking about? You know? And that can make it difficult. I mean, once my father knew, and I said, well, I'm a lesbian, you know, oh, it's all right, darling, you know, and that was it. But not every parent is like that. It takes a lot of work and a lot of chat for them to understand who you are.
But in terms of your obviously your military career being cut short, would you have ever done anything different to have stayed in? Do you ever think it would have been worth it?
I'd have loved it. Really and truly, I would have loved to stay in the army.
Would you have stayed quiet about your identity to stay in the army?
Yeah, you have to. Because in those days, you couldn't be gay at all. You were gone. You had to pretend you were nothing at all. Mm. That was a lot of it. But, however, it all turned out in the end.
In the end, we got there.
Yeah, we got there in the end.
Betty, you've spoken about your lovely wife and the work you do together in the CAF. If I can pass the mic on to Mandy and you both share between you sort of how you discovered that, how you started that and what you're doing with that.
How we started the cafe? Well, I retired 13 years ago and I was bored. I worked with the homeless first and then Betty had this bright... Our idea when we came to Eastbourne was to hire a camper van and do Spain, do all the wine. That never happened. Betty got involved with Pride. So after working with the homeless, the cafe came up for the weekend. So I took the cafe on at the weekend and I loved all the different people, non-binary, asexual, you name it, I loved it. They would walk up and down the cafe outside, frightened to come in, and I'd open the door and say, are you coming in or are you going to stay outside? They'd all come in. So we then took the cafe on full time at our own cost. We dug into our savings and we rented the cafe full time. The joy I have and Betty has is watching, say, Robin. She walked 7 years ago, she walked up and down outside the cafe. She was trans, came out of the army, was an alcoholic, stopped drinking. She came to the cafe, went through all the normal things that you do when you're transitioning, and she transitioned 3 weeks ago, which was wonderful for us. The same with Tiffany. And then we had a gentleman come in one day in tears. His son had came to the cafe. He had came to the cafe to say, my son's gay, I don't know what to do. And Betty said, do you love him? He said, yeah. She said, then that's all you need to do, love him. So we've had experiences in the last 7 years, 8 years, coming in, all the different sexes. I know Betty goes on, but I don't mind. I love the difference. I love that I meet these people and I hear their stories and I hear how they're he, she, whatever. It's wonderful. And we have loads of debates. We just keep Betty out of the debates. We do love each other. Tonight, there's 8 of us going to see Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. 3 are trans, and we don't say trans, they're our friends. So we're all going tonight, and we're all going to Blackpool Pride. There's 11 of us going to Blackpool Pride. So we have a wonderful atmosphere, no matter who you are, what your sexuality is, what you believe in. We don't give a shit, excuse my language, because we love you.
You're on camera.
And we love other people to love you. And we fight for equality. Betty never explained she started Black Pride with Phyllis Opoko. We did London Pride for 25 years. We did an open-top bus. We were very friends with Peter Tatchell, who comes to our Pride every year. We just love involving ourselves with everybody. Wear your hair whatever way you want, wear the clothes you want, be who you want to be. And nobody judges and are allowed to judge in our cafe. Nobody. If you start judging, you're out the door. And that's the end of story. So we just love each other. And Betty's quite politically, she's got her ideas, which is fine. And we don't fall out with her ideas. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. But I don't think I think we should just all have our own opinion. And I love everybody. I dread the day that we lose the cafe. Derek here is our next door neighbour. He's a musician. And he helps, he decorates, he comes into the cafe. And we just, that's what we do. We help the other communities. But as I said, there is a lot of, between the gay community, there isn't harmony everywhere. And it's a shame because we're missing something if we don't all get on with each other. And I think communication, I believe in communication. And I think that's lacking, very much so lacking. And I don't care who you are or what you wear, and believe you me, in our cafe there's some styles. And it's lovely. And Betty's got an opinion about non-binary and that, but she doesn't understand it. We just ignore it. We just ignore it.
Because I'm a lesbian.
I think we all know that now.
Can we just give a massive round of applause for these two? We're not quite finished. I've just got one more question that that has come from other guests, and they've left me some questions. So can you just pick 1, 2, or 3?
3.
Great question. Okay. Oh, you're going to have to pick another one because we answered this earlier. The question is, I'll tell you, if you could tell, maybe Mandy could answer this question. If you could tell the unborn generation one thing, what would it be and why? I think you did mention it earlier.
Listen and learn. Listen and learn. That's the only way forward for any of us. Say what you want to say. Don't hide it.
Don't be afraid. I just feel as long as we have a safe space, whatever part of the country we live in, I think we should be there for each other. And I do see fear. We do. We've had people come into the cafe who wants to be trans and frightened. We've got one now that's just started to dress, and we're proud. We're proud that we've gave them that support. But there are a lot of fear out there, definitely a lot of fear. You think it's changed? I don't believe it has changed that much. I think we've still got a long way to go. I really do.
Oh, God, yeah.
I think we've got a long way to go, and we need to support each other. In our day, I don't know if you won't remember, but Bet and I, in our day, we supported each other because we were all frightened to come out in our jobs, frightened to come out. So we looked after each other. We would go out with our 2 gay male friends and it'll look as though we were a couple, 2 women, 2 men. And they had this strange language. They spoke Polari. I don't know if the gay men will know about Polari. It's very interesting. And so we all had to do things. And yes, we did have to go underground. I used to go to gateways that cut right down in the basement. So you didn't come out and just have a jolly good time. You just looked after each other, seriously. We've got loads of stories we could tell you, which we've gone through. And I'm in the middle of writing a book at the moment. I think that's what's missing. We don't let the youngsters, they don't know the history. You need to know the history. The history is very important to me. The gay history, the AIDS. I've got a tattoo there for all the people I lost with AIDS. I've got it on my top arm. They went through hell. My friend would visit him. They wouldn't wash him. They wouldn't do anything with him because he was HIV and he died at 42. And I just think we don't want to go back. Never go back. We have to keep fighting and move forward. And don't think that we're up against it again. I believe we've got a long road ahead of us. Especially our trans friends. They've got a long road ahead. And we must support each other and make sure we never go back to Betty's day in the army. The biggest, proudest moment, and she forgot to say, we're on an open-top bus in London Pride.
Oh, yeah.
And the army, they allow the army and the police to march in the Pride. And the sergeants, the army, all stood in front of the church and saluted us as we all went by. I was crying that the army and the police led the parade. It's the most amazing time in my life.
Accepted us.
Definitely amazing. So the history, we need to know the history, or somebody needs to write the story of these pods. There needs to be a history pod.
Yeah.
Go back for the beginning, right through, what people suffered and what they fought for.
Honestly, you two are absolute trailblazers, aren't you? That's incredible, the work that you've done. And I can only obviously speak on my behalf, but I hope that the whole, especially the gay community, would appreciate all the work that you've done. I certainly do. And I hope that you don't think we all take it for granted, because the work that you've done has allowed myself and some of us here today to live freely, to be able to continue the work that you're doing. And that in itself is incredible work. And that's what you've done. That's the result. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So as we end this podcast, I do have a few thank yous. Obviously, a massive thank you for you for being here today, and to Mandy and your guest, and also our co-host. Thank you for helping this podcast along. I also want to say thank you to our sponsor, Huxley's Birds of Prey, and Awards for All for commissioning this podcast. Yeah. And of course, Sam Photography that is behind me, Samkhanphoto. And the audience, and the lovely audience. We had some really good interactions today. So everyone, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for watching and listening to our podcast. And we are hoping that you are going to help us out by liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, all of the usual, because actually with your involvement, we might be able to continue this podcast and commission a few more episodes to help people like yourselves. I just want to reiterate that if you have been impacted by what we've spoken about in these episodes, then please do find the links to support in the descriptions below.
Got me upside